What's on Your Mind is sponsored by ACC 339 Dudley Road, New Style Radio 98.7 FM, Breakthrough Studios, and Reggae Jam Jam.
Good afternoon, guys. How you doing? Welcome to another program in the series of What's on Your Mind. I am Carl. The program is produced by Breakthrough TV. Hope you're good. Hope everything is all right. Let me say thank you for tuning in. This is a live stream. Don't forget. So I always give you the warning. If you see anything a little bit, it's going directly live. So they can't change that. That's how we did. So how you did, guys? How you did? Hope you did good. It's not too bad here. It's hot today. We had a couple of rains a couple of days ago. That was very, very heavy, but today it's quite warm, so we give thanks. Let me say thanks for all you guys who've been on our program. Want to say a big shout out to Mr. Richard Colbert down here in Jamaica. He was on our program last week. A musician, big shout out to you, sir. Hope to catch you soon. All being well. And I say, don't forget, guys, to like, share, and subscribe to the program. Big shout out to Aston Villa. Aston Villa has qualified for the Champions League. Villa, up the Villa. I'm not a very big club football fan. I support football. I'm not a big club fan. Some people will say I'm talking sacrilege, but that's just me. I can't help it. I'm a fan of football. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm in the studio this afternoon with me, very absolute great brother. His name is Michael Watson, and he's a poet. How you doing, Michael? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Carl. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Well, not too bad, just enjoying a little bit of sunshine that we're having.
Great. You've been here before?
I have. It's great to be back.
It's great to be back, and we decided to have you again because it's Mental Health Month. So I know you're going to tell us a little bit about that later on as we get on in the show. How's your day been?
My day hasn't been too bad, to be honest.
Yes.
I've been spinning a few plates and doing a little bit of writing. I also had to go to I visited a school today, a special needs school.
How did that go?
Yeah, it was really good. It was basically supporting a school who are looking at outcomes for some of their students. Mm-hmm. They're in that 19 to 25 age, and I think when arguably a young person with special needs probably has greater barriers in terms of trying to get on in life, outcomes, employment, and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So I was just going down there to see some of the things that were happening, really.
Mm-hmm. And how do you find that?
Good, really eye-opening, really. I have links to special needs schools anyway because I'm a governor at a special school in Handsworth, Hamilton Special School.
Okay.
And I used to work directly in that industry. Well, I still do, in fairness, actually. I say used to.
Have you been doing that long?
Yeah, so specifically I'm talking about recruiting in education. I recruited in education from about 2015.
Wow.
For a large major company, then for a smaller company. And then I've been doing a few bits and pieces really for just sort of freelance for myself. So,
right.
So yeah.
Sounds very successful.
Yeah. It's work in progress.
So you're saying this man needs to have more awareness, Karen?
Yeah, I think someone in the armed forces, you've been trained to conduct yourself in a certain way, and I think with that comes additional responsibilities. And he really should have had a greater awareness of how the police might perceive him with a gun in his hand, and as a black man as well. You kind of got to sometimes think a step ahead.
Yeah, I'm also as an Air Force man. Let me get it right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or they call them airmen in America.
Sure.
The thing I found about that is the fact that he had a gun in his hand. As you say, it has to be aware. Open the door with a gun, and we know what police are like.
Yes.
We know how jumpy they can be. So therefore, if you open your door with a gun in your hand, and there's a police officer out there.
Yeah. What's the rationale? It's a catch-22, as I say. The man obviously is in his house, but I think to open the door with a gun in your hand is going to raise concern, isn't it? You know what I mean? And one has to kind of.
I mean, it's like we see. It's like if you're driving down the road, right, and you haven't done anything.
Yep.
And you see an officer come and stop you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You just wind your window and say, "Well, go on. What you stop me for?" and you let the conversation rest.
Yeah.
It's no use you're going to wake up. Why you stop me for blah, 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 blah?
Yeah,
Because we know what's going to happen.
100%.
We know what's going to happen. We've experienced this before. I myself have experienced this.
100%.
So, you know, you've got to
100%. You got to be prepared and,
Yes.
and almost prevent a situation from happening.
That's
really.
right, that's
I
right.
think there is a level of individual
That's right.
accountability to an extent.
So I say it's just such a
sad.
tragic,
Yeah.
tragic and sad situation. But the thing about it that actually said he's not the first one.
Yes.
It's a series of African American men
Oh, right,
who's
okay.
been actually shot at home for
Okay.
some reason or another in the United States.
To me, that's an alarming trend,
Yeah.
really, and I think the people in sort of places of power should be looking at that and going, why is this happening? What's going on? Why is this occurring? Really, I think there are some lessons to perhaps be learned from what's happened there.
Yeah, right. Let me move on, Michael. Now I come to the UK. The UK, the birth trauma inquiry, and this is in our maternity. Now there was evidence this week from 1,300 women. Some say they were left. This might be disturbing to some of you guys. Some say they was left in blood on their sheets in hospital. Some say they weren't listened to. Some say basic necessity wasn't given to them. Some say they actually come across racism. The basic simple thing as paracetamol, they refused. They won't listen to. Women in birth won't listen. And some says also some of their children has been left with traumatized and also being left with life-changing injuries.
Yeah, I think this case study, because
Yes.
I heard about it in the news, is interesting, and I think I heard a stat. It was something like the number of women that died during labour and childbirth is at its highest in 20 years.
That's right. Yeah.
Considering that we live in a time where we feel, we are progressing,
Yes, and
technology is
the
advancing,
technology has
we're getting
advanced.
better at medical practice and all other things. You do have to ask how and why is this happening, and I think one of the key things to point out about this survey is that actually the incidence of these occurrences within black and minority ethnic women is disproportionately
It's very high. Yeah.
If I'm honest, I think as a person of colour, I'm not new to that kind of data. We always hear of people feeling that they're not being listened to in the same way. But I think it's a very serious case, and I hope that there are some huge some learns really to kind of glean from that.
Well, the government has appointed a new maternity commissioner
Czar.
who's supposed to report to the prime minister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I said this thing has been going for quite some time. You know what I mean?
has,
And women in maternity, which is actually discussing. As you say, the technology is there.
Yeah,
you know
that's
what
right.
I mean, the one they always say short staff. We know the whole health service is short staff. Sometimes I wonder sometimes because we see the Windrush generation who came and did such great job in midwifery. In the health service, you know what I mean? Because they did fantastic job. And that's all that has slipped. All that has slipped
100%.
to where we get to this. How the hell did we ever get to this stage?
100%. I think if you're talking sort of in terms of the disproportionately high number of people of colour that are impacted by this, the thing that springs to my mind is you are right. We have provided significant contribution to frontline staff.
That's right.
But my question is to what extent has those numbers been able to rise above the ranks?
To rise to management
absolutely.
are running the system.
And ultimately, if you don't have good representation at a senior level, then you're not really heard. These sorts of things aren't really made aware of. But I think the study as a whole is a really positive thing because, if people can't be sure that they can go into a hospital and have children, that's really worrying.
It is a bad thing.
It's really worrying.
It's a big
And
problem.
It's a national
problem.
picture. It's not just
No, it's straight across the board.
Yeah,
straight
that's
across
right.
the board.
That's right. So I hope they take a lot from it really.
Yeah,
to be honest.
and I do as well. I mean, and as I say, it's very, very frustrating and very, very serious. You know what I mean, as you say, women, we've all got women in our family.
100%.
So it becomes a worry. You understand? We have wives, we have girlfriends, we have partners, we
100%.
have, and we all know people like this. So it becomes a worry.
Well, I think really we're failing as a society if we're not able to guarantee people can go into hospital and
have a baby and
You
come
know,
out without getting the help that they actually should have.
Yeah, it's scary. If
It
I'm
is scary.
honest.
Guys, you can leave your comment. Don't forget, you can leave your comment somewhere in the box there. Yes. Now let me move on. Jamaica. Now, two brothers were cut down in a hail of bullets in Westmoreland, Jamaica. In the Westmoreland community, they was actually playing dominoes, and a couple of bikers ride up, and they were pelted, shot with bullets. Mr. Powell, 44, and Mr. Daly got killed. And a 61-year-old man has also been injured, you know what I mean? And they say there was a motorcyclist gang two men on motorcycles just opened fire at them, which is absolutely sort of disgusting once again. You can't even have a decent game of dominoes without somebody riding up on you and shooting you up, yeah? And that is like, a domino is like a social event, you know, enjoy yourself.
That's right,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
of
So
course.
it's sad to see that happens, you know what I mean? Now let me move on. Now, a man with the first kidney transplant, he actually had the first pig kidney transplant, has died. Richard Slyman, my apologies for that. And he's a 62-year-old. He was suffering from the end of stage kidney disease before the operation. He actually had the operation, had the transplant in March, and March this year. And as I say, he died 2 months after, which is absolutely tragic. And Massachusetts General Hospital has said the transplant has nothing to do with him dying.
Yeah.
We leave it at one. Yes. We come to Birmingham, England. Now, tributes has poured in for one of the best drummer, Conrad Kelly, better known as Rod Kelly. Rod Kelly played with Cornerstone from Birmingham before he actually played with Steel Pulse. He actually played with Big Ship Alliance. And he actually played with, I should say, not Big Ship Alliance. Big Ship Alliance, he's a very well associated Big Ship Alliance, but he actually played with Legend Live, you know what I mean, and a whole lot of other groups he actually played with. So condolence has gone out to him. We actually met Rod so many years ago, about 2022 in Hansworth Park, when we actually did the Simmer Down Festival. So we're going to try and see if we can bring up a clip of him to see actually what he actually was saying to us when we actually had that great interview. And he just shows you how time can just goes and actually things can happen, you know what I mean, which is actually, as I say, we say big condolence to his family and his friends. Let me see if we can get this in. And because a lot of people wonder who's Rod. Well, this is Rod, yeah?
UStarRadio.com.
Big condolence to his family.
Still here at Simmer Down.
Simmer
Down in Hansworth Park. And I'm talking to Rod Kelly. How you doing, Rod Kelly?
You know? Yeah, I'm doing good, you know.
Yeah, and you've just come off stage.
Yeah, we just had a short set, you know. We did a fusion stuff, you know, with the band Legend and some Asian fusion thing.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, it was only 30 minutes, but it was well intense, you know. Yeah, man.
And you're looking forward to who's coming on later, like the mighty, what I call the mighty Third World.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've toured with the mighty Third World.
Yeah.
Yeah, during the course of time, I was working with Steel Pulse. I played with Steel Pulse for 12 years.
Yeah. Oh, you've been with Steel Pulse for 12 years?
Yeah. So over that course of time, I toured with the mighty Third World on several occasions.
Marvelous.
So we just look forward to it, you know.
What else coming up for you? Anything else coming up for you?
On the show tonight.
Yeah, on the show tonight or in the future?
Yeah, I'm looking for.
As I say, we say big condolence to Rod family and all his fans and all the people that he's worked with over the years. Played with a lot of bands in Birmingham. I mean, absolutely wonderful. And as I say, I actually know Rod myself, and there's nothing strange of when you actually know somebody, you know what I mean, and you see they actually, and you talked to them a couple of months ago. I say that was 2022. That was like, it's okay, a couple of years ago, 2 years ago. When you actually talk to somebody like that, have such a great time. And then suddenly they're gone. As I say, we say big respect, you know what I mean? And you've have seen this.
I know of him, not directly, but there are people that I have affiliations with that have worked with him. So I saw kind of through social media about the passing, which, it's quite sad, really.
And it's strange because, according to source, the Jamaican Observer, they've actually said he was due to turn up for rehearsal and he didn't show. Wow. And his phone was uncharged. And they actually
went to his house. Somebody went to his house, and they had to take the door off, and they've actually found his body in the house.
That's sad.
That's sad. Rest in peace, Rod.
R.I.P.
Now moving on. Well-renowned drummer Desi Jones died at the age of 65. Desi Jones is the founding member of the band Chalice, Love Chalice. Also in 1988, he formed the band School. He's played with Jimmy Cliff, Marcia Griffiths, Muta, Colin Davis, Monty Alexander, Maxi Priest, Muta Baruka, and many, many more. So we say the great Dean Fraser. He also wrote the book of reggae drumming, The Art of Reggae Drumming. And I say that was released in 1983. And it's an instruction book on how to play reggae drumming. Gone, but not forgotten. That is so sad.
Indeed.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And we used to say we have so many of the great musicians and so many people that is actually going, you know what I mean?
The cycle of life,
The
you
cycle of
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
It's a sad situation. It's a sad situation.
I think you realize that more when you get to a certain point in your life, don't you? You
Yeah,
know, I think when you're young, you think you're gonna live forever, and you're not really as conscious of your mortality, and then you kind of hit middle ages and you start seeing things with your parents' generation, and then as you get older, and you know.
Well, when I was 20, I'm only 25 now, right? Of course.
Spring chicken, of course.
Spring chickens. Just look.
Yeah, man, don't know.
When I was 20, I recall a well-seen citizen said to me, he says, Carl, when you're 20, you know, it's just like, you know, you think you're gonna live forever. But he said, what you'll notice when you get to about 35 or you reach 40, you'll see more and more people of the senior age, which is going, which is the don't forget you can go anytime.
Of course,
you can go anytime.
of course,
But
of
you see,
course.
what you'll notice is more the people of the senior age. You know what I mean? People in their 60s, in their 70s, in their 80s, they're going, and you'll see more and more of that.
100%. I think when you get to them kind of middle ages, 30s, 40s more so, I would say, 40s and above, you realize time is the most important resource that we have.
Yeah.
More than money, more than anything else, time.
Yeah,
you know, and you know, it's what you do with your time that matters, really.
Yeah.
Really.
And it's so sad that you think, yeah, I mean, I've accepted a long time that I'm gonna go, and I don't want to be more.
But that's good.
I accepted it a long time because I always say I'm only passing through.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
And I accept that a long time ago. 100%. And I think one of the reasons why I actually accepted that is the fact that my grandmother, my grandfather, all my aunties, all my mother's sisters and uncles, they're gone.
Oh, yeah, sure.
My mother was 96 when she died.
That's a good innings.
That is a good innings. Everybody would say that.
yeah.
And she's gone. And all that generation has gone. And all those people a lot of those people that I actually grew up with in my little island have gone.
Yeah.
So you realize what is actually the cycle, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%.
And I don't want to be morbid, but sometimes you got to just, you know.
I think you have to acknowledge the reality, innit?
Yeah,
You know, time is fleeting. Time and tide waits for no man.
The time is
as they
slipping
say.
away. There's a song like that which I actually quite love.
100%.
Yeah, that's how it is. Don't forget, guys, to like, share, and subscribe to the program. Don't forget, as I say, to leave your comment in the box. Now, one of my favorite artists, Jamaican reggae singer, Alaine. Alaine said she resisted pressure from a producer who wanted her to do raunchy lyrics. The reggae singer first debut single, No Ordinary Love, 2005 was out. And she said the producer actually persuaded and, you know, really says, he insisted that she change her music and her music wouldn't be, nobody would sort of recognize her music. It wouldn't create any attention unless it have sexually lyrics or sexually explicit lyrics. Explicit, yes, I should say. So, he also says, you sound good. You sound all right. You can see this in Dancehall magazine. You sound all right, But nobody's not gonna take any notice unless you go under your skirts. I kind of laugh. So, the wonderful Alaid, which is my favorite singer, Jamaican singer, she actually take no notice, and she stayed true to her own self.
Good on her.
But you know what I mean? This man, now this producer, sorry, I don't know if the producer, male or female, want the lady to go and sing about her. Boom, 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 boom. Can't say that.
Yeah.
Under her skirt, you know. And I think we see more and more and more of that all the time. We were talking about this earlier on.
Yeah, 100%. I think, well, firstly, I respect her as an artist just for keeping her integrity, because as any artist, it's really important that you feel comfortable with what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, you know, more power to her for that. But let's be honest, Carl, sex sells. Now, whether you believe that or not,
Yes.
that's a phrase that most people are aware of, and it's a phrase that we see quite prevalent. But the sad thing is I think it speaks to a couple of things. I think it speaks to the industry broadly, because quite often the industry promotes degenerative behavior.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
you know, really.
And a lot of the behaviors did, what you say, like that now.
Degenerate. Yeah. And this isn't a recent thing. This has been happening for a while. And whether you're talking about sex or whether you're talking about extreme violence and you know, kind of social destruction, being destructive to communities. There's a lot of as I say, degenerate behavior that we have absorbed and are almost desensitized to, and is the norm. But the other thing is it speaks quite highly of the times that we're in as well, you know.
Yeah, and I would say the last 10 years in my lifetime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's got worse. I have to say, it got more degenerate. I have to say that. I mean, like, you remember once, let me start you now. You remember once, ladies, now, don't get me wrong. The first thing a woman's going to say to me, a woman's got the right to wear what she wants to do.
Yeah.
And we don't take that away from her.
Yeah.
But at one time, it was here, right? The dress was here, right? Then it moved up to here, right? And you never see you never see their swimming suit, and you never see their panties, right?
That's right.
Now it goes up here,
Yep.
and it goes up here. And now, if you see it, you can actually look in some of them braids.
Yeah,
I have to say that. You're
Yeah.
looking straight up in there, whatever.
Yeah, modesty
And,
seems...
and the problem is that, don't get me wrong, I love women. The problem I have with that, it's influence the next generation. It influence your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and all that sort of thing. So that is the issue I have with, I mean, the days are gone that we say, oh, she looks really nice in that really nice dress, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why do we have to see that all the time?
Yeah,
And I'm not, you know, I said before, I love women, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Why do we have to see that? And it's you know.
yeah, no, it's a sad state of affair, really. I think if people feel that perhaps they need to dress that way in order to perhaps gauge attention, that's a very sad thing, because it says a lot about us as people and as a lot about the individuals.
Yeah.
But on the same token, a woman should be able to dress as
Of course,
freely as she wants.
And we're not saying that.
Yeah, 100%. I think there
is
is accountability on men to be able to control themselves or to conduct themselves in a way that's appropriate, or women. Actually,
I was going to say that there has to be an accountability,
you know, it's not just
and women as well.
Gender. Yeah, but yeah, you know, these are the times that we live in, Carl. You know,
and I'm not a prude. No, I mean, don't get me wrong.
No.
I know the world in that context. You know what I mean? So, but as I say, it's the damage. It's the damage that is actually causing to our younger generation. And every time you see, I mean, like some of these things that pop up on my Facebook page all the time, and I think, you know what I mean, this is pornographic.
Yeah,
it is. That's where we got in it. A lot of it is pornographic.
100%,
you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And that is, you know, probably
changing times, my friend. Changing times.
times.
Yeah, social values are very different to where they were 50 years ago.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that were illegal 50, 60 years ago that, you know, we can do freely today. So times change and people change with that, really, I suppose.
And it's not necessarily for the better. It's not necessarily. Some things are good and some things are better.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Some things are good and some things are better, but it's not necessarily 100%, or even say, all for the better. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
other
yeah.
thing as well is what you gotta understand with some of these things, and we know nobody should do anything to any women. You know what I mean? We know there's screwed up people out there with mental health issues, which we're gonna talk about later on.
Yes, yeah,
And
yeah,
and
yeah.
mental health issues. When people's got mental health issues, you don't know what they're gonna do. You know what I mean? They don't know what they're gonna do to me. You don't know what they're gonna do with me. They're not gonna to the person next door or whoever. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
When
yeah.
people's got mental health issues, and it can be a big thing.
It's a catch-22 situation, that point, because I think on one hand, people should be able to live freely and,
Yes.
and not have to tiptoe to accommodate certain things. But equally, you should be mindful of things. And, there's a phrase that I've been brought up on: prevention's better than cure.
Yes, and we
So
talk about
you know,
and we talk about it. Why me? Why should I go out, which I should be able to do? Why should I go out and walk on the streets on my own, say about 3:30 in the morning? I'm not aware of what I'm doing. I haven't got the back of my mind. Anything can happen here.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Anything
right.
can happen here because
Yeah.
there's a lot of nutters out there.
You see, what you got to remember though is we live in a civilized environment, country, urban, built up. But if we lived in very rural areas, i.e., in the jungle, there's danger around at any moment. And
Thank you.
I think we kind of forget that
That's right.
in this
That's right.
social construct.
That's right.
So there's a kind of a complacency almost sometimes, where people kind of forget that danger is present at all times.
I mean-
but it's balancing that though as well. at
Yeah,
the same
it is
time.
because one of the things. This is a little bit drifting, but one of the things we always hear is that, like, women, when you go out, don't leave your drink down because you don't know what people's gonna put in it.
That's a very serious thing, isn't it?
You don't know what
people
people's
get
gonna-
spiked and
You don't know what people are gonna be. So I mean, and I don't want to say this, but you know what I mean. You have to be aware of what you're doing.
you have to be careful.
Careful at all intervals.
Careful, not fearful.
Yeah.
But yeah, 100%. You have to be aware of your surroundings at all times.
Right. I'm open to your comments because I can take it. Guys, I'm open to your comments because I can take it. See, my shoulder is a bit broad. I can make it broad as well. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the program. Now, the Atlantic season begins in the Caribbean. The hurricane season also begins the 1st of June. The Met from Jamaica has actually told Jamaican people the hurricane season this year will be very, very active. So be aware of that. Yeah. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the program. Now, Michael, 1 in 4 adults suffer mental health. 1 in 10 children also suffer mental health issues. And it's Mental Health Month awareness.
This is right. That's true. This
Yes.
is true.
Tell us a little about mental health.
Well, mental health's always been something that has interested me. In my earlier part of a career, I was a people manager and I led people, and I dealt with individuals that had, I suppose, mental health challenges. So I began to kind of look into it and think about it. But I suppose in more recent times, I myself have had struggles with mental health, and have gone through certain things really, and I've learned a lot about myself. I think we live in a time where the conversation is more readily spoken about.
More people talking about it.
Yeah. And you've got people like is it Prince Harry and other high profile figures, celebrities, put the conversation or raise the conversation, shall I say, to a broader population. But yeah, it's always been something that I've kind of had an interest in, and I suppose in more recent times I've just tried to be a bit more of an advocate about it and encourage conversations, because conversations are what spurs learning and action and everything else. Really, all starts from there. As a poet, I try and write on around themes that might cover sort of mental health in some of my work, and I'll be sharing a few pieces throughout the course of this conversation. It'd be interesting to kind of hear your thoughts. But what's interesting is I think particularly us as a community, or being someone of Afro-Caribbean descent, It's quite prevalent within our communities for all sorts of reasons. But one of the things that became apparent to me was just simply how we have a lot of inherited sort of issues, if you like. Yeah. You know, things like intergenerational trauma are things that you don't necessarily realize until you're in a situation, or you know, something that there's reason to kind of start to think about that. But we all have to be very careful and protect ourselves. Now, at the same time, I think equally there is a level of balance, and people can sometimes over indulge mental health or play on it, you know, to get a particular
That's interesting.
outcome. And yeah, 100. You know, you see that. And so I think it has to be balanced in some respects.
Well, I mean, like I always say to myself, I don't have any mental health issues. Well, over the years, me hearing about it, I started thinking about it.
Yeah, that's
and I
right.
started thinking, what are my issues? You know what I mean? Do I really have any mental health issues? I don't really, sort of, you know. I mean, I know, like stress, anxiety, and all those things. You know what I mean? Big bills, or having to pay bills. You know what I mean? People being racist towards you, or being not nasty to you in the workplace. All parts contributes to mental health issues. You know
100%.
You know what I mean?
You know, the difference is, what's interesting though is, firstly, I think the conversation is has typically been more female-led.
Yeah.
Men historically have been deemed or taught to be stoic. We keep our feelings
To be strong.
in.
Men has to be strong.
We keep our feelings in. We don't talk on it and that sort of stuff. And I think that sort of viewpoint has slowly been challenged over the last however many years. And it's nice that actually men are having those conversations a lot more. But you know, life is generally can be quite challenging and quite taxing. And I was just gonna say, you know, whereas a lot of the things that you just talked about as the stress factors have always existed.
Yeah.
It's just that society's changing now. So
Yes, and you could say, if we go, let's rewind. Used to say the great nanny, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Back in the day, who has to fight so bad, you know what I mean? And because you said time has changed so much, the great nanny who has to fight so much with all the thing that was going on then, and then we come into this time and then you hear somebody say, oh, I'm having counseling because I'm having counseling. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I have been counseled because I've had this issue.
it's context, isn't it?
And then when you think of the great nanny or the great so-called what we call freedom fighters, that they know have time has changed, where they had to go through.
Yeah.
And I think that is why, you know, I mean, you sort of say, well, the toughness.
And this is what
you
I'm
see
saying
going
about
with that?
balance. Definitely. I like, you know, if you look at the struggles of history,
Yes.
it's arguably, you could argue that we live in a time of, particularly within the Western world, we live in a time of relative ease.
Yes.
And less struggle.
That's right.
Certainly it's less physically demanding in perhaps the ways that those who've had to fight for their freedoms have had to endure. But
Even the great civil rights fights of the United States.
correct. But equally, perhaps maybe the stresses or the triggers of mental health challenges have changed as well. You know, there are different. It's a different day, so there are different nuances that might cause those things. Arguably, you might argue mental health concerns and challenges are more prevalent in developed countries.
Yeah.
You might argue that.
Yeah.
And that might be because maybe there isn't the infrastructure and the diagnostics in less developed countries. You could say that.
Yeah.
But equally, is it a cultural phenomenon? Is it a symptom of maybe, you know, modern living? Some of it might be.
Is it a symptom of doing well? Because a lot of us are doing very, very well.
Well,
and a lot of us got a lot of change.
Well, more money equals more problems.
Yes,
Some people say, I believe it
yes.
was a notorious B.I.G. that coined that term. But,
That's right, yeah, absolutely.
but yeah, definitely. But you know, as I say, for me, I am an advocate of mental health, and I do like to try and talk about it and encourage conversations because we can learn from each other's experiences. We can also appreciate that actually someone else might be going through what you're going through as well, and you know, there's kind of a shared benefit really in a wider conversation, isn't there?
And how do you balance it? Because like I know there's sort of different sort of stages. Because say if you lost somebody, you know what I mean, or if you got an illness,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Those can all sort of it's like a different feel from like somebody who say oh like say oh
It's just
somebody
suffering
somebody
anxiety.
steal my car, isn't it?
Yeah,
That can
yeah.
stress you out as well. So you see, it's a different context. So
That's right.
that's what I'm trying to go with that.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, the subject in itself is very broad, isn't it? Really, and there are different levels of mental health challenge, really. But but equally, I think there's a lot we can do as people to control and perhaps manage some of the challenges and stresses to mental health. Um, and for example, I've recently wrote a poem called Gratitude,
Yeah.
which I posted sort of yesterday and today on platforms. Now, my sort of rationale behind that was giving thanks is a very powerful way to impact your mental health. It's actually giving appreciation to the things you have, to the abundance in life.
Yeah,
I think we live in a time where we're constantly being directed to look outwards at
Yeah.
the things we don't have.
That's right.
And
Other things we don't really need.
correct. And we easily overlook the things that we do have.
Yeah.
So just acknowledging and appreciating life for some of the smaller things, or
What
for
you've
some of the
got.
people in your life, I think is a very powerful way to help give you some balance, particularly if you're feeling quite woeful. There's a lot you don't realize you have. They say you never miss something until it's gone.
That's right.
you know,
That's
you know
right.
that. Part of the motivation behind writing the poem really was to sort of give thanks and acknowledge some of the things or people in life, but really just to remind people to remember to look inward and to actually just appreciate some of the smaller things.
Great.
You know.
Give us one of your poems before.
All right. Okay.
Give us one of your poems before we continue the conversation.
Definitely. So the first poem I'm going to share with you is a poem called Smile.
Okay.
And this poem, I think I mentioned it in our last conversation. I wrote this poem at the start of lockdown, which again was quite a very challenging time, particularly for a lot of people's well-being. Movement was restricted. We were being told to stay indoors, and life was taking a slightly different turn.
Yeah.
A lot of couples struggled through that time, just being sort of confined in each other's spaces in ways that maybe that they didn't normally have. But anyway, the point behind Smile was to remind people actually a simple thing as a smile is quite powerful.
Okay.
It sends a very positive signal and vibration to people. And they say, thinking good is feeling good to some extent. Like in my line of work, it involved using the phone a lot. And there's anyone that works in call centers or on the phone, we talk about smiling because the person on the other end of the line can feel your smile. But just something as simple as a smile is a very important, powerful thing. So anyway,
go for it.
Smile. Is a smile a curve that sets things straight? A good intention, a show of guilt, a mask that shields hate? Is it friendship, peace, or a means for the irate? Or maybe a way of coping, of bearing the weight? In self-indulgence we smile, and even I get my fill. I've even found I smile at a little Netflix and chill. I've watched Ozark move to Hollywood and Vikings kill. In a bizarre Game of Thrones, but I've seen stranger things still. I saw you in The Last Kingdom looking far from sad. I browsed The Handmaiden's Tale in The Good Place feeling glad. And when looking for more reasons for indulgence to be had, I found 13 reasons why The Crown's Breaking Bad. A smile is a given for every situation. A smile, a smirk, a grin is but telling indication. If you need reason to smile, well, here's a trump consideration. The cure of disinfectant, anti-malaria medication. Now, if you've not taken note, found something useful to file, may the next words strike a chord or move you like the Nile. Turn that frown upside down and don't leave it a while. Use your smile to change the world. Don't let the world change your smile.
Great. Fantastic. Good one. Go for the next one, please.
Yeah, sure,
Go
sure.
for the next one.
Okay. So the next poem I've had that I'm going to recite to you is called "Growing Cynicism."
Okay.
This was really inspired by life, broadly speaking, but kind of conversations with my parents and realizing that as we get older, the world changes, and you realize that in lots of different ways. And sometimes it can be quite difficult to deal with that change or to struggle with that change.
Okay.
So, growing cynicism really is just about realizing that the world is quite different and maybe struggling to adapt to some of those changes.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. Go for it.
All right. They asked him what's wrong. He said, nada. Rather, he's a cynical aging dad who's become more seasonally aware of disorder, and the reality seems quite sad. Whether the storm of anarchy shocked in disgust, this lip has seldom curled. Sometimes I'm crying with tears for fears, as everybody wants to rule the world. Trying to limit acts of self-sabotage to stop the internal conflict and violence. Sometimes I switch to a deepish mode, just so I can enjoy the silence. Inner journeys to inner visions, I wonder, is superstition, lost wisdom, folktale, or strife? Human nature has you clutching at faith that rock with you lost when she's out of your life. But it's old paradigms versus new schools of thought, whilst the philosopher contemplates. Instant gratification and money for nothing often leads to dire straits. Trading objective truth for identity politics, path of logic, liberation, or a dangerous route to go. Should trying to obtain whatever you want mean abandoning the status quo? Are we all heading in one direction whilst styles evolve? We ask what or who is sane. Before the signal of one love started jamming, it was a Bob, well done, can't complain. But life's full of legends, we all have sagas, stories, but let's part the details, no valet. Till we find the drive to dig deeper for gold, we'll dance around what's true in a Spandau ballet.
Great. Absolutely, absolutely marvelous.
Thank you.
I do like them. I want you to get all your poems out because our time is gone. We got a bit more time, but I want you to get a few more poems out.
Sure.
Because I want you to get all your poems because we're gonna have at the end of the just before the end of the program. I want to talk about getting help and staying active to help all and eating well and sleeping well, which also actually helps your mental health well-being. Yeah. Go for the next one, please.
Definitely. Okay. So my next poem that I'll do is a poem called More. More. This is written for a family member, and they asked me if I could write them some affirmations. Now, affirmations are a great way to empower yourself, to uplift yourself.
That's right.
And are really helpful for, I suppose, mental health challenges. The idea of just repeating something, a mantra, and just internalizing that. So the poem More was about acknowledging that you can be more, that you are more. It's about really uplifting. It's about empowerment, personal belief. There is a kind of a cultural context to it. But yeah, I hope you like it anyway. So, more. I am more often than not, more lukewarm turning hot, more food for the soul, more stew peas than the pot. I am more. I am more. More time. I'm easy like Lionel, trim voice sound Richie. A general in general, no hype, just major like Mackerel or a Lieutenant Stitchy. I am more. I am more. I am the coat of arms. I am the mantra. Ask anyone. I am a song, a psalms. I am out of many one. I am more. I am more. In kingship, I worship with hardship, no fail. But my ship is the Black Friday. I know you've seen that ship sail. I am more. I am more. I sail on easy, more Commodore than Amiga. I start, I finish the Alpha and Omega. I am more. I am more. I am history, I am the mysteries, I am culture, I am arts, I am sure, I am more than the sum of all parts. I am more. We are more. And if together we rise like the sun across the pond, realize, like Roger, we will bond. We are more, much more.
Marvelous.
Thank
Great.
you.
Marvelous.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
How long does it take you to write a poem?
That's a really good question. Anything from a few hours
So a couple of days.
to a few days to months.
Yeah.
I mean, the average poem I would say is normally probably written in about 8 to 10 hours, but that doesn't always happen in a block. You know, sometimes a lot of the time I'll write something and come back to it.
Yeah.
I'll have sort of poems that I'll do quite slowly, but then sometimes I write poems very quickly. And here's a story. I met a friend who basically wanted me to write a poem for him for Valentine's Day for his missus. He said, "Can you write me a poem that I can give to my missus?"
Yeah.
And this was on February the 13th. And and I was like, wow. And I had a lot of other things going on as well.
Yeah.
But I rose to the challenge anyway, and I wrote the poem in about 3 hours.
Wow.
That poem is one of the best poems I've ever written,
Is it?
oddly enough as well, because I was writing for someone.
Yeah.
And I was also I was telling their story, and I was conveying a message.
So
So there was a lot of feeling and emotion to it, and it was
so you didn't have to
it was
sort of
beautiful.
put your experience in it.
Correct.
I-
Yeah, yeah.
that's-
You know,
that's-
I
I
was-
write songs, so actually I understand that.
You get that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yes. And but I think what was the other reason why it meant a lot was because when I gave him the poem, his response to it really it moved me, and he got quite emotional, and I realized how impacting you can be with your words.
Great.
And you know, part of what motivated me to be more active with poetry was I think I mentioned it was around lockdown, and
you mentioned
I'd
it,
been writing for a long time, but recently anyway, post lockdown I was kind of going through things, and it was more therapy, but I wanted to write to encourage people and inspire, and just kind of just send them messages and you know, encourage conversations. So to be able to use word effectively and to move people or to uplift them, I think is you know, it's something that I appreciate really, and I don't take lightly. And you know, it's one of my motivations for putting pen to paper.
Great. And what would you say? I want you to do another poem before we finish. What would you say? What you say to how to improve your mental health? I've already talked. One of the things I talk about is being active. And
Yeah.
talk to people. If you get to this stage where you have to talk to your doctor or get help.
What would I say?
What would you say about that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I've wrote sort of poems on a few different things. I talked about trauma and things for that. But to answer the question specifically, I think there are a few key things you can do. The first thing is if you are struggling, talk to someone.
Yeah.
You know, they say a problem shared is a problem halved.
That's right.
So that is the first thing. The person doesn't necessarily have to have answers, but just to be able to talk something through.
Communicate.
Sometimes relieves that burden, you know, of what you might be storing up. So that's really important. Talk to someone. Secondly, you mentioned a really good strategy, being active.
Yeah.
Whether it's going for a walk,
Yes.
whether it's engaging in some physical exercise or some kind of physical hobby, regular physical movement is good for you. It releases the endorphins.
Yes.
It's free. You know, that's free medication.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I do, because I'm always out there. I do a lot of exercise. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
The only thing I'd like to have, or I like to live next to, which I don't, is next to a beach, and I could go swimming every day.
That's interesting. But just further to that, though,
Yes.
I would say, if you can, try and be outside in and around nature.
Yes.
Nature
yes.
has a very
Fantastic.
very discreet.
That's right,
But
yes.
very ever present kind of healing sense to
Yes,
it.
yes,
And
yes,
just being
yeah,
around, going to a park.
Yeah, I
walking
experienced that because
that,
most of where I
you
go is
feel
like
different.
that sort of thing I do anyway.
Yeah,
Most of where
definitely.
I go, it's not on the street.
Definitely.
It's out in the country park and those sort of things, which is absolutely
Really
great.
important.
Yeah.
Sleep is also vitally
Yes.
important. We have something called circadian rhythms. So these are the things that kind of govern your body. And good sleep is vitally important to mental health.
Yeah, and enough sleep as well. As you say, good
Yeah,
sleep.
good
Yes.
sleep. And actually, when I say good sleep, you can actually oversleep where it can be counterproductive. So it's important to have good sleep, and that varies from people to people. But I would suggest somewhere between 6 and 8 hours is normally considered to be good sleep. Some people, are fine with a bit less. Some people might need a bit more. But having good and regular sleep at the same time, your body gets used to what you place upon it, really. So regular routine sleep, and then diet.
I was going to say that food,
is
what you
also
eat, what
vitally
you eat. Yes.
yeah,
yes.
if
Definitely.
if you put junk in your body,
Yes.
you can't expect it for it to perform great. There's a difference between filling up a car with premium fuel that has additives and additional ingredients to make the car run better, and then running it on sludge or running it on lower grade fuel. So I would say those are perhaps the most easiest of things that one can do to kind of help your mental health. But reach out. We live in the age of technology, so there are a lot of advocates, sort of mental health advocates. There are a lot of helplines. There's a lot of support out there.
There's a lot of
really.
things you can learn online as well.
There is. You can sort of self-help, but equally there are a lot of charities and organisations that will help you. So it's important just to try and take some action, really. Whether you speak to someone or you take action yourself.
Great. Absolutely.
Empower yourself with that.
Fantastic. So, what else you got next for me now?
Well, there's so many really, but I was gonna recite gratitude, but if anyone wants to hear that poem, you can. It's on Facebook, Michael Watson. It's on Instagram, Watts W4TTZ. It's on TikTok, Watts on the menu, W4TTZ on the menu, no spaces. So you can check out the video. It's quite nice. But my last poem actually, I'm gonna recite, is a poem called Soul Food. This is a playful poem that really was kind of social commentary, and it's one of the first my earlier poems that I wrote, really. But it's just playful poetry. There's a lot of sort of colourful use of terms and whatnot, and I'm kind of drawing on sort of experiences or perspectives from life to an extent.
Okay.
But it kind of ends on a positive message, really. So I'll just leave it at that. So, soul food. Most can talk a good game without too much to mention. We can compensate the pain and quickly pay attention. Take that something to the max, well, just for the ascension in my lifetime, whenever, wherever, whatever the intention. I've been researching that soul food, research and development, R&D. I swapped a main course of rhythm and blues for starters, R&B. On the main, life is solely about the just desserts. They say revenge is a killer, a cold dish that justly hurts. It might vindicate you, might let karma run its race. Might, if lames, hot step it, and move quick with pace. A weight might become your burden as people watch face. Too much to carry, being kitchen's a hot place. But they say come out of the kitchen if you can't hack the heat. I'm trying to taste success, not trying to smell defeat. One of my sugars gets caned, the other gets beat. They're both singing, I love it when I see you smile, they're singing sweet. Banksy when spraying, I paint pics, graffiti. I say study my verse before you verse I treaties. Sweet with them words, but more rapper than sweeties. Might make you respect that type 2 diabetes. Like KG's got food, stop, I'm cooking the antidote. Got heat far from the greatest, I could be a curry goat. Something different, I'm bringing a change. Take note. My jaws move you with the current. See, I keep you afloat. Aki 1, 2, 3, and God knows I get salty with it. Some rhymes are cold and some are chilly bolty with it. For your time, I'll bring you the basil, never faulty with it. Just brush in a way, competition, so quote me with it. This fella goes off an acapella, rides rhythm in tandem. I'm spicy if you want smoke, I pop style, no gangnam. Many stand by their words, too few understand them. Handpicked with purpose, mine are rarely at random. Check my mathematics, I'm constant, the pie is humbling. I'm trying to talk this honey into being, they're just bumbling. No Xmas, just wrap in the present, avoid the fumbling. Just desserts when the apple of your eye starts crumbling. But live better for it, I'm trying to be a better being. Being I'm a metaphor, I'm kind of a meta being. Unblinded, got better seeing. In this metaverse, we are more than VR, a gift or yet a curse. But a better verse will clearly define how we are the software, not the hardware, unrestricted in time. Your true essence don't need an update. It's all in the mind. And you've got intel in your core, the processing kind.
The very talented Michael Watson.
Bless, sir.
Or should I say Watts?
Watts,
Absolutely marvelous.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you to everyone. I just want to shout out as well if I can.
Yes,
just
go
a couple
for it.
people. So firstly, I'd like to give a shout out to Lady Culture Jam, Wednesday Night Fever. I've performed there a couple of times at the Legacy Centre. She has a really good show the first Wednesday of every month, and that's a great place to be. There's a lot of talented people, and if you want to see Birmingham for its talent, it's a great spot to be in.
Yes.
I also want to big up Jamasaya, Dolphus, Mr. Mention, Trifina, large them up. They've given me a platform at times historically to do my thing, so I just want to send my shout out to them really. And also David Lloyd Henry, Gabby, who is a well-known established guitar player. I did some work with him, some singing and stuff like that, and you know, he kind of put me onto certain things, so I have to shout him out every time really, just give him respect. And big up to anyone else that knows me.
Right. Thank you very much, Michael.
Bless.
Right, guys, thank you for having me in our studio. It was absolutely great. I'm glad we have you here. Okay. Right, guys, our time is almost here. Let me say thank you for tuning in to Breakthrough TV. Don't forget, this program goes out live. It is out there now. So you can just go on YouTube, Breakthrough TV, and check it out. Don't forget to catch me back here next week with another What's on My Mind. Next week, we go Africa. My guest is an African brother, which I've been trying to get on the show for a while. Well, I've got one, and he'll be here next week. The following week, we'll be talking to another gentleman, Ken. He'll be telling us about a brand new a program that is at the Hippodrome, you know what I mean, that is coming up. So we hope to see you, Ken, soon. God bless you. Thank you. My time is up. Producer, big shout out to you. So God bless you. Catch me tomorrow on the Drive Time Show. Car with a C. I become Car with a C tomorrow. NewstarRaider.com, the Drive Time Show. Good afternoon. Big shout out to you. God bless.